She's the pushy broad from the Bronx, New York. Follow her voice, a stray dog is nice. She's a pushy broad from the Bronx, oh yeah. Don't be surprised if you wanna listen twice. Make decisions, find the right choice. Know yourself better, find your own voice. It's okay if you need help today, cause everybody needs a little push. From the pushy broad from the Bronx, New York.
Welcome, Transformation Talk Network listeners. My name is Ellen Stewart, and I am the pushy broad from the Bronx. Welcome to my show, Recovery Recharged, where we share advice and support from experts in addiction and recovery. I have a very special show for you today because I have something that will really help families and especially children. We introduce so many brand new authors on this show who are doing wonderful books on addiction and recovery. And this one in particular is done by a very special group of ladies that is geared to young children learning about addiction and possibly helping each other really get over this hurdle. The name of the book that we're going to talk about today is Daddy Chased a Dragon. And I know it's going to be up on the screen for you, and you're going to be able to see it, and you're going to be able to buy it. And I want to see all the parents out there going to this book because it is really unique in its message. The person who wrote this book is Nikki Blanche, and the person who illustrated this book is Stephanie Castellano. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about both of them. Nikki, who is our author, has always loved words, and as a child was often found reading cereal boxes, instruction manuals, magazines, and all the books, even the dictionary, once cover to cover. Oh my God. Daddy Chased a Dragon is her debut publication, inspired by a conversation with a friend who shared she was unable to find adequate resources to explain a family member's addiction to her 5-year-old child. So this is why she began to write this book. Stephanie has lived day to day sharing her love of art with everyone she comes across. This love of art, combined with a desire to help others, is what brought Nikki and Stephanie together on this project. The Pushy Broad from the Bronx, Recovery Recharged, is proud to welcome Daddy Chased a Dragon author, Nikki Blanche. Good morning. How are you, Nikki?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So let me start with you. This is a wonderful book. I see the illustrations behind you, and we'll talk to Stephanie in a moment. Tell me a little bit about what inspired you to tackle such a complex topic.
It was definitely the conversation with my friend who said she didn't have any resources or couldn't find any resources. And I said, you know what, I will write a book for you because I had always wanted to write a children's book. And I felt that I could offer a unique perspective and a hopeful perspective as I grew up in a situation like that. My dad was an addict, and then my mother's second husband was severely alcoholic. So I felt like I could kind of write a story and carry us to, the next step.
So it was based somewhat on personal impressions growing up. What do you hope children will interpret with the metaphor of the dragon? What is that?
I'm really hoping that they will see the dragon is with the grown-up, but they are not the grown-up. The addict is not a dragon. They're not scary. It's just one part of them. There's so much more than the addiction.
So, and as we know, being on this show and also being in recovery, Daddy Chased a Dragon really is our personal little code or slang for Daddy has an addiction, which I thought was a really, really interesting title. Can you tell me, before we go to the illustrations, can you explain the significance of using fantasy to discuss real life issues? How did you come to do that?
I feel like that's a common theme with fairy tales, with children's stories. If you think of Jack and the Beanstalk or the Three Little Pigs, it's using allegory to explain the larger picture. So to some kids, when you first read it, it's just a cute story. It's, interesting, and it has a beginning, a middle, and end. And then as you look deeper into those stories, the real meaning reveals itself once the reader is ready to see it, to accept it.
What's amazing about this book is the way the illustrations really do tell the story, and there are some wonderful pictures behind you. That was done by Stephanie Castellano. So, Stephanie, welcome to the Pushy Broad from the Bronx Recovery Recharged. Good morning.
Thank
How
you.
are you?
I'm good. How are you, Ellen?
I'm good, thank you. Tell me about the illustrations and how they complement the narrative in your eyes and the themes of addiction. Tell me about what you decided to draw.
Well, obviously, we started with the title because the title, Daddy Chased a Dragon, the dragon really was this big, like, fantastical element that had to be within the storyline. And that really was like the representation of the addiction. And we both talked about the fact that we wanted the dragon to have kind of like a shimmer so that it represents like kind of the inability to see like the addiction clearly, in these different moments. And I also chose that I really wanted to show the family's emotions throughout the book. So through their movements and their facial expressions, I really wanted to grasp what their emotions were in reaction to the addiction that they're living with.
Well, not only that, and not only what you've just said to me, which is really evident in the book, but there is a certain artistic style with which you put this book together. Can you describe that a little bit for us?
Yeah. So when I think about children's books, I really think about watercolor being like the medium that is used in children's books. So I wanted to incorporate that into my work. And I have worked with watercolor before in my own personal drawings. So I used watercolor because I felt it could really show like the gradient, the different values of the dragon and the moods in the rooms. And I thought it could really capture what I was imagining in my mind. And then I wanted to outline it and make it bold so that it really made those images pop off the page since it's for children.
And also, I think we were talking a little bit before about the fact that it appeals to all kinds of children, right? All ethnicities, all backgrounds within your illustration. And that was very evident in how you draw people and families. Yes, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, definitely. So Nikki and I had a lot of discussions like in before we started and during the process. And one of the things we spoke about is that we wanted the child and the family to kind of be recognizable for everyone. So I chose like to display the child, especially as a what's the word I'm going for here, Nikki?
I mean, I said usually ambiguous.
Yeah, like an ambiguous, so that it could be a boy, a girl, the age, could be interpreted a little differently.
Any
So
race.
like, and race, yeah, the age, the race could be interpreted differently so that, a child really from any background could kind of, grab onto it and relate and think to themselves, oh, yes, that is me. Oh, I'm a girl, that is a girl, or I'm a boy, that is a boy. So,
And
you
to
know,
demonstrate how addiction affects all demographics. There is no hard line between, one or the other. It's all walks of life.
Well, it certainly does reflect that in the story. So, Nikki, let's get back to the story a little bit. Let's share where we started here. Where does the book begin? And I would like you to tell the story for us.
So it begins with the parent in the household is making all these promises. We're going to go to the park. We're going to go see, a baseball game. We're going to do this. We're going to do that, tomorrow. And, the child, of course, wants to spend quality time with their dad. So they're very excited about it. They go to school, they come home, and the dad is in bed, can't get out of bed, groaning. It's not going to happen. So then the child is disappointed, and that's where a lot of the great illustrations are, where it shows how upset the child is about this. Because their hopes go from so high to just crashing down. So then it takes us through the mother recognizes that it was not fair to the child to constantly have this disappointment, and it really eroded the relationship between the child and the addicted parent. That child can't rely on that parent. It does not set a good foundation for kids. So, so then we're showing the dad is like fighting this. Oh, I'm so sorry. The dad is fighting this dragon and thinking, the child is like, what did he go like to this castle and he's got a sword and how does this go? So in the midst of that, the mom explains, what addiction is. And then later in the story, we see that the dad is separated from the family. Sometimes they're talking on the phone. Maybe when he feels better, he can come back home. It's discussing different avenues to healing for different families. I don't want the book to seem like there's this only one roadmap to addiction in family. There are many different paths.
Of course. And I understand. The conversations that I saw when I read it are the kinds of conversations that come up in the family all the time, because there is always a confusion for young children when something is promised and then not followed through on. And that's what happens in families when one of them happens to have a problem with addiction. In this instance, it's daddy chased a dragon, but it could just as easily be mommy chased a dragon as well. We're not singling out father. Okay, so what kinds of conversations do you hope this book will spark between children and adults? Nikki, what do you think?
I'm hoping any conversation at all. I feel like there's still such a stigma about addiction, and it's taboo, and you don't want to say it. You don't even want the kids to know the words. And that's just like really not my style. I feel like kids are pretty much like their whole life is just a case study of their parents' behavior, and they see everything. So they're seeing you, not be exactly honest with them or not telling them the whole truth. So I'm hoping that it will really just encourage the other caretaking parents, the non-addicted ones, to be open and honest and honor, just like give the kids the respect of telling them the truth.
Of course. What age group do you think this book is for?
Kids wise, I would say probably like 3 to 11, maybe 3 to 12, but really I feel like it's more aimed at the grown-ups, because even today we're talking to a lot of people. They're seeing the book, it's resonating with them. We're getting wonderful feedback. So many different people who I had no idea, like people I've known for a decade, are saying, oh, I'm going to buy this book for XYZ because, they have this person who needs it.
Well,
And
speaking of books, where can they find this book currently?
Amazon.
Okay, on
Where you can find
Amazon.
everything.
Right. And we're going to put a QR code up as well so that you can, if you're looking at us, if you're looking at our streaming on the Transformation Network, you'll be able to go straight to the Amazon page and buy the book. So, Stephanie, have you had any experiences with your illustrations in this book and maybe testing it out? I know that you're a teacher. Have you been able maybe to give it to young children and get their feedback? Tell us about that.
Yes, actually. So since I'm an educator, and I work with teenagers, the experience of creating the illustrations and kind of following the story and of, working on the book and reading the book myself has given me this knowledge of a way to respond to my students, because they come to us as educators for us to give them like advice and to tell us what their emotions, what's happening at home, and they look for feedback. So it's great that I have this now, because I've been able actually to use it several times now to kind of just help guide some of my students independently and like set them in the right direction with, situations that they have at home, and like actually have a two-way conversation with them.
And that's great, because you're talking about the book and then we're talking about a meaning that is kind of hidden behind it. So what are some of the things that kids are saying to you? How does this come out? How do you discern what's going on with them through this book?
Well, I did have the opportunity to read it to two children that I know come from a family with addiction in the family. And so they were younger, not high school age, like I teach, and they were very receptive to it. They had a lot of questions, very inquisitive, asking about where did the dad go? Why is he like that? And they recognized the connection between the dragon and the dad. And then especially when we got to the page where it explained what the word addict meant, there was like a real recognition, and it was fantastic. And I also found with both adults and children that when they read the book and they come to the end, that it does have a few different, as Nikki put it before, avenues that they could take it. So it's not, all leading to like, this is the right way to deal with addiction in the home. It's kind of leading you to, these are, open and an open-ended kind of, answer.
Which is exactly what does happen, because there are no one-way answers and there are many different outcomes. So, Nikki, let's go back to the book's inception. How long ago was this, something in your mind's eye? And what kind of challenges did you face in the beginning while writing the book?
So actually, the conversation happened in 2019, and I'm almost embarrassed to say it took me this long to get it off the ground. It was, just published last month. But I stuck with it because I felt like it was really important. It's an important work. I feel like I'll tell you, I'm not the same person I was when I started writing the book. It's honestly been so cathartic for me to write it. I'm a different person now. And it opened my eyes even to what the world can be after you get out of a situation like this. Your second question, the second part of your question was
The
about
second part of my
the
question was,
challenges.
yes.
Yes, there were a ton of challenges. The first editor that I came across, she was like, "This is a half a story. It's wonderful, but like, where's the end?" So she was super helpful, and then at that point was when I gave the child the ending that I wish I had had. If my mother had had the confidence to put my mental health and my well-being above her need to be with her second husband, I was like, I wish someone had taken me out of that situation or explained to me what was going on, because it was just scary and volatile and uncomfortable. All I knew was that my house like stunk. It was not a happy place. So I wanted to give the child like what I wish I had had. Otherwise the challenges are that I'm not a writer. I'm an HR person. So I have like a full-time job and I have a family and I have a series of insane dogs, which, that's, how does that happen? Who knows? And just, the time and the devotion, the confidence to say, I'm going to stick with this and this is a good project and I'm going to put it out into the world. And when I found Stephanie and said, "Hey, I have this wild idea. Do you want to, illustrate this book for me?" And she agreed. I was like, "No, I'm going to be straight up with you. You have to chase me and you have to insist that we do this. Like you have to be the driving force behind it."
And it certainly did pay off. Certainly. The book is Daddy Chased a Dragon. You can find it on Amazon. This is Nikki Blanche, the author, and Stephanie Castellano, the illustrator. Let's talk a little bit more about, did you look into not only your personal experiences, but did you consult any experts in addictions or child psychology when writing the book, Nikki? Anything?
I did not. I entirely used my own experience.
And when you said that after writing the book and now you've made some major changes and you've looked at yourself differently, what sort of cathartic experience did you go through? How have you changed?
I I I really have just the confidence and the knowledge to say like I deserve nice things. I deserve to be happy and have, you know, calm, nice people around me. It's been really nice.
And Stephanie, do you think you've changed by illustrating this book?
Oh, absolutely. I think I've changed in more ways than one. So before, as I said, like as an educator, I feel I've changed because now it's given me this confidence to talk about like this subject or, even like other subjects that have been taboo in the past to discuss, I feel more confident responding to my students about, that I can actually like, instead of just being a passive listener, that I feel I can, give them something back. Not like advice or like a right or wrong answer, but give them feedback that'll help them move along. And in respect to myself as an artist, I think this has helped me out a ton. I really had to dive into the world of like children's books and children animation. So I looked at other authors and how they were animating their characters and facial expressions. And it was a whole like series of artworks in itself. It's not just one, because even though I was working with the dragon as a character, the child as a character, the mom as a character, the dad as a character, I had to draw them all in multiple different ways and try out different things. So it really propelled me, I think, as an illustrator.
So do you think there is room in the future for other illustrations, other book illustrations?
Uh, yeah, I think there will be. I mean, I've talked to Nikki about and contemplating putting myself out there and, offering illustrations to other authors that are looking for illustrations. But Nikki and I have already talked about working on, this and kind of like moving forward with like another variation of this book, like
We
Mommy Chased
definitely
the
want to do
Dragon.
the mommy chase the dragon, right? Because we want
Mhm.
to show, representation matters. And you could say, oh, this could also happen to a mommy, but the kids who have the mommy in that situation would really like to see a mommy in that situation. It really would help them, I feel like.
Yes, it would. It would also help them if they saw a sibling chasing a
Mhm.
dragon,
Mhm.
for sure, because it's unfortunate, but one out of every three households can very easily have this kind of problem, whether it is substance use from alcohol or drugs or situations. But the thing behind it is the behavioral stuff that goes on in families and how children react to what they see. And you both have gotten the message out there that it's important to take a look at, that children absolutely absorb and see things. And Nikki, that was very reflective in how it was for you early on, right? The confusion, the not knowing, all of that stuff. So now people are able to discuss this in a way that is helpful for everybody. Yes? So do you have some other topics in addition to this on the horizon? What are you thinking?
Or me.
Yes.
We definitely have received ideas already from our fans, which is fun. About mental illness is one that was brought up, which I feel like ties in very much with alcoholism and addiction. It's not like, that happens in a silo. Certainly there was something that's prompting it. We had that one, and I think there was one other idea. Now it's slipping my mind.
Yeah, which we talked about like family dynamics and how there's like different, like diverse family dynamics that are out there, and it's good for children to know,
Mhm.
that there are, that they exist and that there is no one norm,
Right.
Right,
right?
exactly.
That what
All
you
right.
said?
So kind of to sum it up, we have about a minute or so left. Nikki, give us an idea of really what you want moms and dads to take away from this book. What's the message here?
That conversation is important. Talk to your kids, trust them, talk to them at their level, age appropriately. But, as far as I'm concerned, I really don't think any topics are off. I don't think anything's off topic for kids. Nothing is too taboo. If it's age appropriate, and they should not be ashamed of anything that's going on in their family. It should be things that they feel they can express themselves and ask questions and feel confident and secure, give them a good foundation.
Stephanie, what would you like everybody to take away from this book?
I think that it's really a great help for the adults to kind of start the conversation. So if you're there, parents are having a really difficult time starting a conversation about, something like addiction or, other taboo issues, I think it's a really great idea to use this as like a jumping point, you know?
I think you're right. I thought the book was right on point. I thought it was adorable. It was very easy to read. Every time I read it, I got something else out of it. The illustrations themselves are easy to find. It was done exceptionally well and really puts together a lot of things for open discussion. So that is a really good thing. I really appreciate you both being here today, Nikki Blanche and
Thank you
Stephanie
so much.
Castellano. And the book is Daddy Chased a Dragon. It addresses the complicated subject of addiction and substance abuse in a manner appropriate for children. Find it on Amazon.com. It's there now. This is Ellen Stewart, the Pushy Broad from the Bronx. Thank you very much for listening. Go out and buy the book. We'll see you next time. This is Ellen Stewart, the Pushy Broad from the Bronx, saying thanks for listening. And remember, everybody needs a little push.
From the pushy broad from the Bronx, New York.